Ever wondered what it's like to walk in the footsteps of a president? Let's find out as we explore Teddy Roosevelt's Sagamore Hill. In today's adventure, we're visiting Sagamore Hill. Located in Oyster Bay, Long Island, this is the home of Teddy Roosevelt, the 26th president, from 1885 until his death in 1919. Roosevelt originally purchased 155 acres of farmland here in Cove Neck, just east of Oyster Bay, to start a family with his wife Alice. It is said that the name Sagamore Hill was chosen to honor Sagamore Mohannis, or Chief Mohannis, who was the chief of the Native American tribe that once occupied this land. The property was once a working farm where, among other things, they raised cattle, wheat, corn, hay, and had an orchard that still bears fruit today. During his time in office, Sagamore Hill was considered the first summer White House from 1902 to 1908, where Roosevelt hosted dignitaries from around the country and leaders from around the world. Let's start with a tour of the house. Sagamore Hill is open to tours Thursday through Sunday. You must purchase your tickets in advance on recreation.gov. The price is $15 for adults and $1 for children and pass holders. You should know that they release tickets in small batches, and you'll need to check the website to see when tickets will be available for your visit. Your tour gathers just outside of the front door of the home on the beautiful wraparound porch. Down the hill there is the caretaker's house. This is where the person who looked after President Roosevelt would have lived. That house is now a private residence, and this was a fully working and operational farm. It had a barn, it had a pigsty, it had beehives, it had any number of items you would find on a working farm. And this is Sagamore Hill House. We are going to head up the road. We have to meet our tour at the front door now to figure out which end is the front door. And here is the front of the Roosevelt house. And do note the antler ears on the roof. And here is the front door with the eagle. And here is the view off of the back patio. It's beautiful. But look at these rocking chairs. This is what I call a proper porch. Sagamore Hill is a 23-room house, and when you take the tour, you will find that about 95% of the pieces that you see there, most of the furnishings, etc., are original pieces and were used by the Roosevelt family. On the first floor, you walk into a large center hall. Off of that center hall, you'll find the library that was used by President Roosevelt as his private office, the dining room, the kitchen, and the drawing room. In 1962, Congress established Sagamore Hill as a National Historic Site under the care of the National Park Service. And in October of 1966, Sagamore Hill became listed on the National Register of Historic Places. Thanks to those designations, much of the grounds in the original home are intact and available for us to visit and explore.
So this room, the original house ended right there. That was where the porch came right there, and so they added this. And the original house, which was 23 rooms, cost $17,000. This cost $19,000.
Wow!
So what I've never figured out what it would be in today's money, but when Roosevelt saw it, when it was finished, he said, "This is the most beautiful room I've ever been in." I'm going to get out of the way so you can take a look. It's full of trophies. It's sometimes called the trophy room. We call it the north room because it faces north. But there are some wonderful stories behind almost everything in this room. Mrs. Roosevelt was not fond of looking at the moose during meals. I believe the storytelling, the way they drew stories, is not linear. The way you do it, it would be in a circle. Here's a familiar item. Most all of us have one of these in our kitchens, don't we?
It's a big safe.
The stove there heated the water in the house. So the water was pumped from the well back when you passed the windmill and you cut anything. It would be pumped into the house and it would be pumped through the stove.
Up on the second floor, you'll find the bedrooms, the nursery, the guest rooms, and the bathroom with a giant porcelain tub.
for the master bedroom. And it was also called Mother's Room because Mother sometimes also had to come up here and close the door and get away from the noise. Mrs. Roosevelt suffered from neuralgia and headaches and things like that, which from constant people being here at the house. This is the dressing room.
President Roosevelt died peacefully in his sleep on January 6 here at Sagamore Hill. After touring the house, head down the hill to the Old Orchard Museum and the former home of Teddy Roosevelt Jr. Here you'll find a museum dedicated to the life and times of Teddy Roosevelt and his family. Over here is the Ted Roosevelt Jr. house. It was built for him and his wife, Eleanor. It also doubles as the visitor center. Teddy Roosevelt Sr. was instrumental in founding the American Museum of Natural History and the Metropolitan Museum of Art. I did not know that. They were also very prolific in the Children's Aid Society. So it appears that Teddy became a New York Assemblyman in 1882. That looks like that's where his political career began. So he had married his wife, Alice Lee, back in 1880. He unfortunately passed away on February 14th. In 1884. She died after delivering their child. How sad. And then on the same day, his mother died of typhoid fever in the same house. Very tragic. After the tragedy of his wife and his mother passing away, he left his baby Alice with his sister Anna and traveled west, where it looks like he gained the reputation of being an outdoorsman. So it looks like Teddy re-entered civil life not long after marrying his new wife in 1887. He was a Civil Service Commissioner and was so effective at his role, though he was a Republican. Democrat Grover Cleveland, when he was elected president in 1892, kept him in that role. So William McKinley, when he was elected president in 1896, was a friend of Roosevelt, and he appointed him to be the Assistant Secretary of the Navy. Roosevelt resigned his commission as Assistant Secretary of the Navy back in 1898 after the USS Maine exploded, and he became a volunteer in the cavalry unit. So the Rough Rider history was begun. And here is his cavalry uniform, complete with spurs. Once he returned to civilian life after leaving the cavalry on September 25, 1898, he was nominated for governor of New York. So Roosevelt was McKinley's vice president. So in 1901, September 6 to be precise, President McKinley was shot by an assassin's bullet, making Theodore Roosevelt our next president. Here is the hat and pen worn by President Roosevelt at McKinley's funeral in 1901. As president, he believed in the square deal and believed that Americans could govern themselves. He had spent a lot of time with the quote-unquote average American, and that's where his sense and sensibilities came from with his domestic policies. This is news to me. This is something I did not know. I did not know that as president, he appointed Black people or African Americans to federal positions in both the North and South, even though it was not a popular thing to do at the time. Something else I also did not know, he believed himself to be a Lincoln Republican and felt that the square deal also applied to African Americans or Black Americans. So we know that President Roosevelt was often known for saying, "Speak softly and carry a big stick." As a result, he received many big sticks throughout his presidency. This is just one example. Keeping in mind that Roosevelt came to office because of the death of McKinley, he did run for re-election back in 1904 and did win his party's nomination. And he went on to become inaugurated on March 4th, 1905. So in this room we have tribute, or I guess I would say, to his hunting life. Apparently he spent a lot of time on safari in Africa. And here are some of the items that he would have taken with him to Africa. So President Roosevelt, after he retired from office, handpicked William H. Taft to be his successor, but after a while realized that that probably wasn't a good move, that he was a bit more conservative than he would have liked, and decided to run for a third term. He did not win the election, so he beat Taft in a popular vote. He split the Republican Party with Taft, making Woodrow Wilson the winner of the next election. And now, let's take a hike. So just down the road from the house, you will find the museum and nature trail. Once again, you get a close-up look of the museum, and we are headed off this way to do the nature trail. So here we are, doing the nature trail. So everything, I hope, has signage. We've not done this before. Oh, yeah, a walking stick has been left here, but you can download an audio tour, self-guided tour of Sagamore Hill, and take yourself on a self-guided tour. I do highly recommend the docent tour, though. The other thing that I would say is that we are all, most of us, wearing long sleeves. It's a little breezy, and we're in the middle of the woods, so ticks. So be sure to, if you're okay with it, spray yourself down, but just be careful. The other thing is, before and after your hike, there are bathrooms in the museum. And those are the good bathrooms. Those are the indoor bathrooms. The bathrooms closer to the house are porta potties, so you definitely don't want to do those. Walk over here to the Welcome Center and the museum. And so, nature trail, here's what we've gotten. So this is what I was talking about. So prevent ticks and Lyme disease. Just be very, very aware, protect yourself. And the other thing that I would tell you guys is I am not a nature girl. So this is odd to me. This is odd. But I think there's supposed to be a big payoff at the end of this trail. At least I hope it is after this. But do watch your footing. The ground is mostly soft, dirt, clay-like, and I think going down will be fine. It's going to be coming back up. And if a tree falls in the woods and no one's around to hear it, does it make a noise? Okay, we're trying to decide if we're going left or right. Oh, it's a 0.7 mile loop. We want to end up out here. According to this, we go right, and then we'll end up coming back out this way. On the left, is that right? Yeah. Okay, let's do this. And to note, we are not wearing hiking boots per se. We are just wearing sneakers. I don't think the hike is that advanced, but we're about to find out. So one thing that I would say is that I have been bitten, as it were, by the national parks bug and hiking. We went out to Acadia National Park. Be sure to stay tuned for that video. And I was like, National Park, ew, what's that? Just got a simple taste of it, and it was absolutely amazing. Acadia National Park is breathtaking. It is an absolute must-do. And even if you don't find yourself as a nature person, you might be pleasantly surprised. Okay, we have been on the trail for about 5 minutes or so, and at this point, the ground beneath us is turning more to sand. And I'm starting to smell salt water, which is a smell I absolutely love. Very quickly, we have come to that bridge that we saw back on the map. Let's take a look. Another bench, so if you need to take a rest, you can. And now we are out at Eel Creek. So this is Eel Creek. And it leads to a stretch of the beach. So along the way, there are little signs that give you a little bit more. So this beach apparently is much of a part of Sagamore Hill as the woods or the farm. It was another gateway to adventure, and in 1888, Teddy Roosevelt had a boardwalk built across the marsh to access the beach for swimming and outings. The kids took rowboats up and down the coastline looking for places to fish and explore. All right, so there are dunes here that are protecting the beach. And this was the payoff that I mentioned at the top of this hike. This is what I was waiting to see. And once you have made it out this far, though I was on sand as I was approaching the beach is really very gravelly. So do bring your shoes, or your pool shoes or your beach shoes, to protect your feet from getting cut from any of the seashells or the rocks. So the rule is no landing boats and no swimming here. Quite a nice stretch of public, undisturbed beach. Is it the black ones or the white ones?
I see yellow.
Both.
Oh, look at them. What's that? Look at them moving. Oh my gosh. What is that? Are those sand crabs?
Yeah.
We are leaving the beach right off of Oyster Bay. And we are going to take the hike back. Oh my gosh. Off of Eel Creek. And we're going to do the circle. And apparently it starts off uphill. Here we go. Here's what I would say. It is steeper going back from the beach than it was going down to the beach, don't you think?
Yeah.
Okay. That walk up the hill though, and we're not done. We stopped. We had to stop and take a little break.
You're welcome.
We may have reached the top of the climb back up to the museum. We hope. Now it's leveling off significantly. I think we're okay. Now I understand why there were walking sticks. And just like that, we are back where we started. Right here. Yeah, we took the long way back. Okay, so reading is fundamental. We recommend that you follow the trail to the right to avoid the steepest section of the trail on your return hike. So this trail is definitely the quickest way down to the beach. I would take that trail down because it's a steep uphill on the way back. This had its moments, but it was relatively flat compared to that side. Have you visited Sagamore Hills before? Let us know in the comments below. What was your experience like? And what presidential site should we consider visiting next? A visit to Sagamore Hills is certainly worth the trip if you're visiting the New York City area. If you're a lover of history, architecture, or nature, you'll find plenty to enjoy at Sagamore Hill. And if you've been hanging with us for a minute, you know we have a lover of presidential history on board. So be sure to check out our visit to the JFK Museum and Library. We'll link that tour for you above and below. And if you're wondering what else to do on your next visit to New York City, be sure to check out our New York City playlist. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so that you know when the next adventure begins. And no matter where your next adventures take you, we hope that you enjoy the journey. Bye now.